Yo, 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 what is up, everybody? Happy Monday. Happy Memorial Day. It is bright and shiny. Hope everybody is having a fantastic holiday weekend. Uh, Hopefully, some of y'all had the day off today. I certainly know I didn't. But today is a special day, and welcome to Wickin It and Kickin It. Um, Especially, welcome to Quentin. First time here. Appreciate it. Thanks for the like and the subscribe. It's good to see you. Good to see everybody. Uh, it's a little bit of a different wicking it and kicking it, at least the first half or so this evening. If you guys see the thumbnail and you heard me talking around about it, technically it's not today, it's tomorrow. But today is the Wicking It and Kicking It day, so we're celebrating it today. But today we celebrate 6 years sober, 6 years in recovery, alcohol and drug free, all mind altering substances. Literally, the only thing that I still partake in is the nicotine and the caffeine. And as a matter of fact, I got my cup of coffee. Cheers. Wouldn't be like a recovery-ish type of meeting without some coffee. Although this isn't really like a meeting, and this isn't like super regimented like a 12-step program type thing. But I am going to be sharing my experience over the past 6 years, probably with a little bit more focus on the last couple tonight. And I want to encourage anybody that's here. If you hear anything that you can relate to, or if you have anything that you want to share pertaining to mental health or addiction recovery, any type of positive changes you've made over the course of the past couple years, or just any type of positive experience, or if you need any help, if anybody out there needs any help, please feel free, put that all in chat. I'm going to try to get through chat as quickly as I possibly can at the top of the show here. Normally, we read every comment. I shout you guys all out. Sometimes to get all caught up, it takes like 45 minutes. But so real quick, let's get into it, and we're going to try to get through this. Let me know what you guys are enjoying tonight. What's everybody vaping? Are you going to be setting anything up during the stream tonight? If anybody wants to send in any hand checks or anything, we can get to those at the second half of the show. I will, real quick, start off by saying I still got everything. Well, not everything, but the things that we set up last week still in rotation, And I hope you guys are all enjoying something tasty out there as well. Maybe it's some JMW Premium. Maybe it's some Duchess coils. Some JMW Premium on some Duchess coils, like this guy right here. OG recoil. Put it on a clutch. We got those Duchess bullies in there and a little lemon meringue. We licked this bad boy up last week. And another little grim guy. We set up that SQ last week. Nitrous is still going strong. Not quite as crackly as it was when we first wicked it last week, but that's loaded up with some skeleton key, JMW Premium skeleton key. And of course, it wouldn't be a rotation without my broken Addy, or a broken Addy rather. We got this one on the BMM Billy Club with a Pendulum Coils cherry bomb on the inside. You know how it goes. We got succulents in there, all nice and crackly. I think that needs to be rewicked. Let me know what you guys are rocking with. We'll try to keep it brief if we can. As a matter of fact, too, also because we have somebody new, you'll notice that a lot of people, pretty much everybody in the chat has wrenches. That's because we do focus a lot on like e-liquid DIY here, and I want people to be able to share links to recipes if they want to share recipes. If you have content that you make on YouTube or wherever else, feel free to drop your links. If you're here for like a couple, 2, 3 weeks in a row, we'll make sure that you get a wrench. I just don't want people to feel left out. That's kind of how we do it here. But I hope everybody is giving Quentin a nice warm welcome. Let's see who is in here real quick. Furperstrode is first, says yo. Mouse says ayo. We got Paul Cole keeping it cloudy. Quentin is here. Del Vape says yo yoy. Let's see. Mouse sending in hand check for later. Remind me. Stephen L is here. Yo yoy hashtag mech life. Heck yeah, dude. Canadian Vapor. Good to see all you guys, man. Always a pleasure. 6 years, way to go, buddy. Thank you, man. And it was a lot of hard work, but I could not have done it without all of you. I'm gonna tell you, and that's no cap. That's real. It's real right there. Dell is wicking it and getting kicked. Ooh, yikes. GG Stevo and everyone else going through the battle. Hell yeah, man. And just remember, man, if anybody out there is struggling, you can do it, man. You just got to make that decision to ask for help, get out of your own way. That's what I certainly had to do. Don't be afraid to reach out. My PMs are always open. And I find that there's a lot of parallels in recovery and in the vaping community. There's a lot of crossover. A lot of people in the vaping community are in recovery long term. I find that there's a lot of similarities when it comes to, say, helping somebody find their path to their own path to recovery. That's very similar or the same as helping somebody quit smoking by transitioning to vaping. I find a lot of similarities in there. It's basically a lifestyle of helping people. It's just the way I like to live these days. Thank you, Canadian Vapor. Kim C says hello. Duchess is here. Yo, motherfucking yoy dudes and Hot Vapor Chicks. I don't know if all the Hot Vapor Chicks are here yet, but they will be, I am sure. Let's see. Paul Cole enjoying some Timmy's cappuccino cream and some deep cuts lemon psycho crawler at the moment. Mech life, oh yeah. Neil Pitts is here. Says hello, everyone. Good to see you, man. Mike DeVries, my dude. Mike DeVries, long time JMW supporter. As a matter of fact, that reminds me, just real quick, everything on this channel is brought to you by JMW Premium. Because we are JMW. We are JMW. If you're not a member of the group yet, feel free to Facebook search that, and you can get in the know. And we got guys like Mao and Duchess here as well. They also got some tasty goodies. Duchess is rocking the Jaka RTA with his newest recipe, Royal Refresh, earthy Southern sweet tea with blue palm, and the Dobpo Tribute single Duchess bully in it, freshly rebuilt. I'd say last night, but it was really, really early this morning. You know how we roll. Neil says, Steve mixed up some of your Crunchberry milkshake V2. Oh, tastes good. I'm giving it time to steep, but might not make it. Want to vape it now, dude? Hell yeah, dude! I'm glad you're able to mix that up. I used to vape that right off the shake, man. 100%, but it does benefit from the steep. The ice cream that's in it matures around 2 to 3 weeks. Appreciate that, man. Mao just rewicked the Ruby 21 earlier, and a few moments ago, the Wasp Nano on the new Nameless got put together. Going to be a good week. Hell yeah. There you go. Duchess has got the link right there. We got this right here. I'll just put this up real quick. You can read that right there. If you're new to JMW, this right there, JMW new. There was Memorial Day special going on, but Dan was talking about shutting it down sometime this evening. Everybody's been keeping me super busy. I really appreciate all the support. to JMW and to the channel. We're on the road to 200 subscribers, which, in my opinion, I think that's pretty rad for what we're trying to do here. You know what I mean? We ain't trying to blow up. Let's get this out of here. We ain't trying to blow up. We're just trying to build a community of people who like to get together and hang out, have a good time, socialize on Mondays. And this week we're going to be doing Thursday as well. We'll talk about that a little later. Neil Pitt says Delta Squonk Bonza Pro Strawberry Twinkie Milkshake. Oh yeah, dude. Mike says I don't smoke and I still haven't went back to vaping, but I'll forever support JMW. Yeah, dude. See, Mike DeVries, man. I love the fact that we were able to be a part of your journey, right? That's kind of like the thing, like I'm talking about. Like, I've sponsored guys in 12-step program, right? But I've also had the experience of being able to witness and be a part of people's journey, people like Mike, to see them transition from smoking to vaping and then successfully quit vaping altogether. And he's nicotine free. I freaking love that, dude. I love that for you, Mike. I super appreciate you, man. Yeah, but I do want to get into this. 14 minutes isn't too bad. Let me take a little sip of coffee. Because I do want to share some of my experience with my recovery journey. And I also, this is the one time of year where I do incorporate some, how vaping and the vaping community contributed to parts of my recovery as well. This is something that I've done. I've gone to thousands of meetings at this point. I probably shared 100 times throughout different meetings, at different like facilities, um, treatment centers and what have you. I've done mental health, peer support and peer recovery support and stuff like that. Volunteer at the halfway house and sponsored guys there at the halfway house. And I've told my story several times over. It's different every time I tell it. Kind of depends on what comes to me in the moment. And don't let this scare you. I know this is a piece of recovery that scares people, like the God thing. When I refer to God, if I say God, I'm really talking about a higher power, a power greater than myself. And the most simplest way that I can describe power greater than myself is literally more like one other person helping me. That's somebody that's not me can be a power greater than myself. I think my first sponsor described it best as, say you're trying to lift a table. It's a heavy table and it's very difficult to lift on your own. But if you have another person to grab the other side of that table and help you lift it, that's a power greater than yourself. Sometimes I get caught up. I've had a lot of like almost unexplainable experiences over especially like the first couple years, to where it's led me to sometimes just say God. And you can refer to God as good orderly direction. It doesn't have to be some mythical man in the sky. Um, these are like some of the terms, just like some of those terms that like I've learned like in the program. I know some of that stuff like scares people away, but it's really all about like what works for you in recovery, and this is what worked for me. Um, and Yeah, just don't let it scare you. But so I never really know where to start. And the thing is that I used to go all the way back to like the beginning, man. To like when I was younger. Uh, Ronnie is here. It says evening all, and I may pause and say and shout people out during this as well. Praise be to great spaghetti monster. Yeah. um, Neil Pitts' testing is Tropical Blast. Hell yeah, dude. Like I used to go all the way back to the beginning, right? Like when I was young and like the things that I used to feel and think when I was younger, and then like becoming a teenager, and like the first thing I dabbled in was like shed time and alcohol and stuff like that. Listen, many people have had similar experiences. If you've had like problems with like drugs or alcohol in the past, like you have your own experience. Some people need to hear like that identifying piece. So like I try to grasp that like as briefly as I can so people can relate to like the powerlessness and the unmanageability. Um but I don't like to sit there and go all the way back to the beginning and talk about like the chronological order of like every single beer or every single freaking drug that I took. It's just where I'm at today. It's just not helpful for me. I feel like it's not necessarily helpful to linger on that stuff, and I'll linger in those memories if I start too far back. But let's just say, like, listen, like I identify as an addict and an alcoholic, and it took me a long time to actually do that, right? Because I was stubborn and I refused to believe that I had a problem, because early on there was no consequences, right? Until what I would eventually learn was a disease that I suffered from progressed for 20 years from just a little bit of shed time, partying, having fun, no consequences, all the way to full blown cocaine and heroin addiction, which would eventually bring me to my knees. But I was stubborn and I didn't want to believe it. It literally took 20 years of progression to where, like, at one point, my alcoholism had started getting out of control to where I didn't notice it at a young age. And I had a couple friends that got sober early on that like really insisted that like I would come to meetings with them and just check it out. A buddy of mine actually even gave me an AA big book when I was like 19 or 20. No, I had to be a little bit older than that, but it was in my early 20s, and I was like, yo, that shit's stupid. Like maybe that works for you, dude. But like that's not for me. I don't have a problem. I like to party, dude. Who doesn't? We're young. Let's fucking have a good time and take advantage of our early years, right? Uh, and looking back on it, there's a very strong possibility that if I would have actually like listened to those dudes and opened that book and just like read the doctor's opinion alone, I might have thought twice, and I might not have had to suffer for as long as I did. Although I refuse to believe that I was suffering all those years. But the fact of the matter is that I had to experience all that. I had to go through that progression. I had to live the life that I did to eventually like realize that I was an addict and alcoholic. I had to get to a point of full blown desperation. And I would eventually become the type of addict who would, lie, cheat, steal, manipulate, whatever I had to do to get the things that I needed. It didn't matter. Like I would screw people over for what I needed. Uh, I would steal money from family. I would do shady freaking work. Here's a good example. Is like I remember like when I really started to become dependent, like on opioids, pills specifically, Percocets. I started doing like shoddy car work with people that made it a business to basically lie and be deceptive for a living, and I learned how to basically be a professional liar living that lifestyle. But like we would do like quick break jobs or whatever it was. We would tell people like we replace their entire brake lines to charge them extra. And I'm talking about like parking lot and driveway car work, right? When like really all you had to do was like replace a piece of brake line that big, just long enough for them to be able to ride on it for another couple weeks so you could get away with charging them money. Uh, like things like that. not taking into account that like something like that could like severely injure or hurt someone. That's the type of selfishness I'm talking about. I was selfish, self-centered, self-seeking, me. It's kind of hard to believe, right? Because like I make it a point today to try to do for others as much as I can. And it took a lot of effort to get to that point, to actually becoming somebody who not only was able to be honest with others, but specifically to be able to be honest with myself. And I guess, you know, like things like almost dying from overdose wouldn't stop me from using. Being arrested, being homeless wouldn't stop me from using. Uh, when I first became a father and my son was born, I told myself, and in my mind at that point in time, that was the first time I actually ever thought to myself that maybe I would want to try to get sober. Because I wanted to be a dad, I wanted to be a family. I didn't want to be dependent on getting up and taking pills every day to go to work, stuff like that. I always had an excuse though, and I always had like a reason to why uh, I'll try tomorrow. Today's not a good day. I'll try tomorrow. And so people would eventually start making suggestions to me about ways that I could reach out and ask for help to get sober. But like I was convinced that like I was going to find my own way to do it. I always had this bright idea of how I was going to do it my own way. Um, because I knew everything, right? You couldn't tell me anything, and I knew absolutely everything. David Nance is here just in time. I haven't been here 212 days clean today. Celebrating 6 years right here, brother. You are right in the right place. I fucking love to see it, David Nance. Shout out to you, brother. This is the day. This is a good day. But yeah, man, I mean, like, I would come up with all these bright ideas. Uh, like imagine being full blown physically dependent on opiates and thinking that that's the only thing, was that you just had to gather up enough willpower to be able to stop long enough to get through the sickness. But the fear of the sickness was a big ass excuse to put it off until tomorrow, put it off until next week. I didn't realize that I was mentally and spiritually sick. And there was parts of me that I was burying deep inside and continuing to cover up by using. And I wouldn't be able to deal with those things until later on in recovery, after being removed far enough away from the drugs and alcohol. But like I knew everything, right? Like I said, well, first I tried moving away from the city, because I thought if I moved away from the city, I would be away from everything, uh, and it would be easier to stop going to get the drugs, right? And ultimately, what happened there is that just eventually turned into uh, just a longer drive to be able to go cop from the plug, man. Um, I tried diving myself even further into work. Work became an addiction of its own. And then, but ultimately, that became an excuse as well. I needed to be able to get up and go to work. And work was also one of those things that I could justify. Well, I get up and I go to work every day. It must really not be that bad. I'm a functioning addict, I'm a functioning alcoholic. I take care of my responsibilities, right? Until I couldn't. Because there was always a time where eventually, like, the scales would tip to where there was a line that I once wouldn't cross. Eventually, I would become desperate enough to cross it. There was always a line I said I wouldn't cross, and I eventually would. Oz has just stopped by to tell Steve-O how proud of him I am for staying sober. You're an amazing human. I love you like a brother, and I'm better off knowing you and having you in my life. Dude, I really appreciate that, man. Ronnie says being honest with ourselves is hard. Seeing our faults and inadequacies easier to cover up. Yeah, man, exactly. It was so much easier, right? And I had this excuse because like I'm in pain. Huge respect to my brother for hitting 6 years sober. That's no small feat. Watching part of your journey and the way you've completely turned your life around uh, has been nothing but short of inspiring. Thank you, man. Thank you. You fought through hell and came out stronger, wiser, and more solid than ever. This isn't just a milestone, it's proof of your strength, your growth, and your refusal to let the past define you. And it doesn't define me, right? Like it made me who I am today, but it doesn't define me. I'm not the same person that I was 6 years ago. And like, you know, uh, another thing that I tried was buying Suboxone off the street. I remember the first time I ever heard of Suboxone, I thought it was like this miracle drug. The way that it sounded, I was like, I'm just gonna go get it off the street. It keeps you from getting sick, right? And I had like this whole like scheme in my mind about, and like I wrote it out on a calendar, right? Of like what days I was gonna like cut down by half this day, cut down by half this day, or however much. And by the time I got to this day, I would have successfully weaned myself off uh, without having to like ask for help or admit to the people in my life that I was living a double life and I was lying for all these years, right? And that became an obsession of its own because while I would successfully take that on my own, uh, I wouldn't be sick, but like I'm sick in my mind and I still need to either feel nothing or want to feel something. So I would use that as an excuse to pick up different drugs. Uh, I don't have to worry about getting sick off the opiates anymore. But now, like moving into like working in the restaurant scene, then like cocaine and Adderall would become a problem. There isn't a single drug on the face of this planet that didn't rule my life at one point or another. And I would give you every excuse in the book as to why it wasn't an issue. Like eventually I would become the type of person who didn't care that like, you know, uh, I was homeless at times. Um, I would get like pulled over and like rack up tickets, and I would skip going to those freaking court dates, and they would pile up and they would pile up and they would pile up because what became more important was going to fucking cop the next bag, right? Um, and all that stuff would eventually catch up to me and would become the reason why I eventually would get in trouble. Uh, but let's sidebar that for a little bit, right? Because I'm letting all that shit pile up, and I'm getting deeper and deeper into like the cocaine and the Adderall addiction, and that is starting to eat up all my money, and I can no longer afford like my bills, and I start to let rent slip. You know what I mean? And I eventually become homeless, and then I eventually have nowhere to go except for back to my father's house. And I would lie and I would say I was doing the right thing, but only long enough to gain trust to be able to start doing what I want again, right? And I think that's important. And like my life would slowly and slowly become more and more unmanageable. The harder I would try to manage it, the more unmanageable it would become. And the more excuses I made to slip even further into it until eventually, like, I was put in a position, like I said, where I was forced, right? I was backed into a corner. Um, we were homeless, but I had just enough money to like get us like a room in a motel, and I would leave my son and his mother um, in a hotel to go to work one day. Going to work was most important because how else am I going to make money to continue to freaking support our habits? And mind you, this is at the end of like a 5 day bender. You know what I mean? We would go on these benders where we wouldn't sleep. She crashed out. My son would wake up in the hotel room. She would be completely what other people thought was unresponsive, you know. And like I think it was like the maid or whatever, like came in, called the cops, called CPS, all that, and it was, you know, that would start her recovery journey. I didn't know it at the time, but that would start her recovery journey. And then we were put in a position to where like we were going to lose custody of our son. My father ended up taking temporary custody, and I ended up having to move back in with my father. Um, and his mom, Dean's mom, would end up going and starting her recovery journey. Uh, that was the first time I think I ever like was like, no, no, not yet. And then one day I got pulled over, um, with all like suspended license, no tags, no insurance, all that crap, and all those court dates event, you know, they were piled up, and I would get arrested, you know, and I think I was down in Dansville when that happened. I would get arrested, and that judge would make me have to go get a drug and alcohol evaluation. And that was the first time it ever even occurred to me that maybe I should ask for help, because like I had to go do this for my court case, right? But I'll be damned if I didn't drag that out for a year. Like kept telling them, like I still didn't fill out the public defender paperwork. I would just go back every month, and you know, uh, but like eventually, like I had no choice. I had to go get a drug and alcohol evaluation, and that was like the day where I was like, maybe I should actually ask these people for help. Like something inside me was like, maybe I should just ask. I don't know what it was. Something was just like, just ask for help, man. Like I knew I could tell them exactly what I wanted to continue go doing what, you know, but that actually would lead me down the right path. Now, I didn't get it right the first time. Like I started going to like outpatient, and I would lie about my clean date. Like I would still go to work, and then I would, you know, cop at work and piss dirty, go to group, lie about my clean date. The next time they'd be like, "Yeah, you pissed dirty last time," and you know that whole cycle. And at that point, all I cared about was that they were giving me my Suboxone legally, so I didn't have to worry about getting sick. But I couldn't put down the other drugs, you see, because I had progressed like into this, you know, just into this full blown addict. Forced and ended up being forced to go to inpatient. And if I didn't, they were going to take my Suboxone away, right? So initially, it wasn't like I was going to go get inpatient to get sober for the right reasons. It was because it was a selfish act. I didn't want to lose what was keeping me from being sick. It would take 3 inpatient stays before finally, you know, third time there, uh, didn't want to be there. I think it was like the first like 5 or 6 days I slept. You're not supposed to sleep the whole time. Didn't want to be there. No intention on getting sober. Just trying to ride it through. And like one day, like they bring these meetings in, you know, and I'll never forget it. It was specifically HA, Heroin Anonymous. They brought one of these treatment meetings in, and that was the first time like I had like looked up and listened to somebody tell their story and like heard something that I could relate to. Uh, and mind you, I had been to meetings before. I would lie to my father, tell him I was going to meetings, and instead I would go to cop, or like I would go to meetings to pass time to make it look like I was doing the right thing. And I thought it was bullshit. I thought the whole program was shit. I thought everybody there was full of shit. I thought they were all liars. There's absolutely no way that these people are finding happiness and they're actually staying sober. They're just like me. They look like me. They sound like me. Uh, they got to be doing the same thing. I'm showing up to this meeting. I'm lying, and then I'm going home. You know, to look good in front of other people. But one day, like I heard something that made sense, and I walked up to that dude afterwards, and I told him that you know, I could relate to his story. However, like the earlier parts of his story made me sweat, man. I didn't like listening to people's war stories in the beginning. all that made me want to do was fucking run for the fucking door and go cop a bag. That's not helpful to me. But at the turning point, when you start to talk about the beginning of your recovery, that's when things started to click. The things that they started to do, for some reason, started to not sound so crazy anymore. Because I had tried everything on my own. I was out of ideas. And that was the thing. He said, well, have you ever tried praying before? And I'm like, no. You know what I mean? Like, that's dumb. Like, some magical, like, man in the sky is going to fucking take take this addiction away from me. Like, I'm gonna get sick if I don't take my, what I need after a certain period of time. I said, just try it, man. Just try it. Go, you know, uh, and whatever you think is out there, whatever you think it may be, say it out loud and ask for those feelings to be removed from you, man. And then I remember like getting out of inpatient that time, going back to my father's house. I was still trying to go to work at the restaurant at the time, and I was just fucking miserable. And I wanted to go get a bag, dude, so bad. And I remembered what that dude said, because I was like, every time like I start the cycle over again and I give in, and then I end up even worse off within like a couple weeks than I was the time before it. And I remembered what he said, and I looked out the back door of my dad's house, and I'm like, you know, take this feeling away from me, man. I don't want to feel like I want to use it anymore. And like shit doesn't always happen like this, but there's been a few times in my life where it has, and this was one of them. As soon as I said that out loud, the phone rang, dude, and it was one of the people that I was at impatient with, and they asked me if I wanted to go meet them at a meeting, and it sounded at that time like something worth trying, and it sounded like a better idea than screwing everything up all over again. Because like at this point I had like made it to like 2 months. I had white knuckled it to 2 months, and I didn't want to start all over again. I ended up going to that meeting. That person that called me didn't even show up to the meeting that day. But like I would go to that meeting, and then they would talk about the importance of actually working the program, not just fucking showing up, trying to freaking skate your way through it by sitting in the back and pretending, and actually like getting a sponsor and trying to work the steps. And I was like, man, that step shit, man, it sounds fucking culty. It sounds lame. It's weird. These people are fucking weird, right? And I remember the guy, like, I met the guy who would become my sponsor that night. He stood up and shared about how the last time he used, like, he's like, I'm not sober from the he's like, I'm only sober from the last time I relapsed. And he's like, the last time I relapsed, I was sitting on my front porch, 2.5 years sober, thinking about how I just want to drink. And by the time I walked from my porch to my car, I said, well, if I'm going to have a drink, I might as well go get a bag of dope, because I'm already going to be screwing up by having a drink anyway. That's how fast the delusional addict mind works, because you convince yourself. The disease that lives in my brain tells me lies, and I believe them. That's how I define it. It tells me lies, and I believe them. It tells me you can go have a drink and just one drink and you'll be okay. You can go get a bag and go get high and still get up and go to work in the morning. See, I believe that lie, but every time I believe that lie, I go and I do it, and I never stop at just one. I don't stop until I completely fucking run myself into the ground again and have nothing. And I related that to that a lot, man. And something told me, little voice inside my head, call it God, call it a higher power, call it my subconscious, or whatever you want to call it. I think it was a power greater than myself, because it was doing for me what I couldn't do for myself. It was making me not believe the lie for the first time in my life. I asked that guy to sponsor me, and I actually started working the program. And then shortly after, I would get into an argument with my stepmother, get kicked out of my father's house. At this point, my son's mother has gone through the program for maybe about a year, about 10 months or so. She had her own place, which was actually what used to be my apartment across the street here. She let me stay on her couch, and she's like, under one condition, she's like, you can't, you can only stay here temporarily. You got to be trying to get into a halfway house. And like I started going to like HA meetings and stuff like that more frequently because that's where I had to meet my sponsor. There was one directly across the street um, from her apartment, which is actually in the building that I live now. That would become my home group. I would start meeting people that were living in a very specific halfway house that was the brother house to the sister house that my son's mother went into. Um, and there was just something about that place that just called to me, man. It wasn't like your regular uh like state run like recovery facilities. It wasn't like that. It was privately owned. It was funded by a church called Spiritus Christi Prison Outreach, and like everybody that there, like I just felt like I fit in. I felt like I belonged there. Something was drawing me to it. And for the first time in my life, like I like caught this feeling of like wanting it. Like I wanted this sobriety thing. And I practically beat the freaking door down trying to get into that place. I had to prove to them that I was going to put in work because there was tons of people lined up to get into that door and get a bed instead of me if I fucked up, you know. And I remember my sponsor told me 3 things that you should do every day. He said, wake up, pray, um, call 3 people a day, ask them how they're doing. That gets you out of your mind, out of your selfish mind, starts to get you used to thinking of others, and go to a meeting every day, you know. And I what used to seem crazy to me, man, it didn't seem so crazy anymore. And I did. I woke up and I prayed to whatever I thought was out there, man. And the thing that I prayed for the most was willingness to keep going. And I'm gonna tell you, man, looking back on it, to when that started all the way to today, that's something that I still do every day. You guys see the me when I hit the live, like the let's go live part, like the click that start stream button, and I get happy because all you guys are here. You guys don't see the me waking up in my natural state because all this work that I put in over the last few years, man, is the work that I have to continue putting in every day in order to stay sober. You guys just don't see it. My natural state is restless, irritable, and discontent. And some of you have seen some of the irritation, uh, the bad moments, but you don't see like my natural state. I have to wake up every day, remind myself that I'm an addict and I'll always be an addict. And I'm never going to be fully cured. I have to continue doing these things every single day. I open up a journal and I write down things that I'm grateful for. Because one of the first suggestions that I got when I moved into the halfway house was this old man. Rest in peace to Richard, man. Such a fucking awesome guy. Told me that if you start every day grateful for something, there's very little room left for negativity throughout the rest of your day. And I still get up and I write down things that I'm grateful for. And early on, man, I kept those gratitude lists in my pocket. So when shit got rough, I could pull that list out of my pocket and remind myself of things that I'm grateful for. The thing about gratitude is that it isn't just like writing down a list of things that you're grateful for and remembering that you used to take those things for granted. Gratitude is an action word, and I need to show my gratitude by putting in some work, putting in some fucking work towards my recovery, right? And realizing that back in the day, I would do anything, absolutely anything for a fucking bag of dope. I had to get in that same mindset that I'd be willing to do anything to stay sober. if I really wanted it, man. And if I didn't enter that lifestyle, I would have ended up dead. At the very least, I would have ended up homeless, um, without my son in my life until I was dead. It was life or death for me, man. And the funny thing is, man, that's also like when I moved into the halfway house, is around the time when vaping would enter my life. When I was staying at my son's mother's house before uh we got in a huge fight after a couple weeks and she kicked me out. She's like, "You can't smoke in here." She's like, "Try this." And she gave me a blue, one of those blues, right? And that really helped, man. Um I smoked a lot less cigarettes. She had, a setup with like a sub-ohm tank and a mod and blowing these fat clouds, and I'm like, I want to do that. But I had like I think $35 left in my last paycheck at that point. And she's like, "I'll take you to the vape shop I like to go to." And I ended up getting like a Vapresso pod. It was like a Vapresso Zero pod. And she had a bottle of Don's Bourbon Cream, the first vape liquid that I ever tried. She already had a bottle, so I didn't have to buy any liquid at the time. But I bought that pod. She helped me fill it for a few days, and I remember that helping. And I remember that freaking liquid being so fucking delicious, man. However, it wasn't enough nicotine. Like it didn't take off the edge like the blue did. Uh, so I went back when I got paid again. I was, and ended up getting the same setup that she had, the nunchaku tank with the mod and everything, that whole kit, and a 12 milligram Tribeca. And the 12 milligram and a freaking sub-ohm tank, man, that fucking hit. That did it for me, man. And it was very, very, very shortly after that I would put down cigarettes for good because I would move into the halfway house. I had to quit my job in order to do that. Like I had this moment of like surrender one day where I went and told my boss, like, "Listen, man, uh, if I'm gonna actually be serious about being sober, like I'm gonna have to put my whole everything into it. And I'm sorry that I can't give you much more of a notice, but like I have to leave. I have to go make my life about recovery. This place is not healthy for me." I worked next to one of my main fucking plugs every single day. It was very difficult to leave that building without a bag of fucking cocaine or some Adderall or whatever. Um, and I did that and I moved into the halfway house and I just started making my life about recovery, man. That sponsor would come over, he would start working the steps, and I started meeting people also, like other guys in the house vaped. Um, and like transitioning from smoking to vaping, I think really, really helped me curb those cravings, especially early on, because the smell, the memory cue from smoking a cigarette, it reminded me of my sinuses being completely blocked off from sniffing Adderall and cocaine. But vaping was tasty flavors, and I could pair those flavors, especially trying new flavors, with new positive memories that I was making while living a life of recovery. And I still relate those flavors to doing positive things in my life today. The reason why I was so excited that the Don came back is because it reminds me of that time when I was finally making a decision in my life to do the right thing for a change, to stop being selfish, to get out of my own way, try something new that I used to think was fucking stupid. Uh, and there's lots of memories throughout like the past few years that are attached to different flavors. You know, I lived in that halfway house for 10 months. My last few months were deep, deep, deep COVID lockdowns, man. And at that point, like I was just about finished working the steps with my sponsor. I was starting to work with sponsees of my own in the house. All the meetings went to Zoom. I was able to actually start like participating and like offering to like host meetings on Zoom. I think being in that house and hosting meetings on Zoom, uh, and starting to help others find their own path to recovery. Um, I think that was a major fucking piece of staying sober, like because a lot of people they lost their support in that time, dude. And a lot of people went out and died in that time. I couldn't imagine not being in that halfway house during deep COVID lockdowns. And I would finally get my apartment, and then right around that time, like the whole time I lived in that house, I used that same setup, that same vape setup. And dude, like I literally had to survive on like being on like uh buying one bottle of juice every 2 weeks. Like I literally had just enough money to like vape a tank a day and to like once a week or two replace a coil in my tank. But like that mod broke like right before I left that house and I moved into my own apartment, and I needed to look for something new. You know what I mean? Um, I had just gotten like my last tax return, and then like stimulus checks came. So like I had all this money, and then I discovered the online vaping community while researching, looking for a new mod. So mind you, my addiction started to manifest into purchasing vape gear, and it's never really left if you guys pay attention. It's been 5 years since I moved into that first apartment, and I'm still addicted to buying vape gear, except now I have stuff to show for it, right? The only thing I used to have to show for my addiction and my alcoholism and smoking cigarettes was fucking spilt ashtrays, fucking broken relationships, and despair, you know. um But that's when I would like discover like Grim Green, the Facebook groups, JMW. I would meet Dan, and my JMW journey would start. Um, and like I started to notice like the parallels in the vape community, and that were very similar to the fellowship of like AA and HA. And I continue to do the HA and the AA for a long time. And I'm not saying that I don't, but I will be honest, and I kind of want to shift forward to the future a little bit, to the past year, because if you go back to last year's share, there's a lot of things that I said then that I repeated today, but I harped on a lot about the community and you guys, right? And how becoming uh, a prominent member, like in different discords, and uh, growing a community in JMW and starting this live stream helped me find like a lot of support that rallies around me, and I fucking absolutely love every single one of you for all of that. Um, and don't ever think otherwise, right? I love every single one of you because I found support in this community, and it was especially the strongest amount of support when I was starting to lose faith in the fellowship of Heroin Anonymous. I became very involved in Heroin Anonymous specifically because that's where I felt like I could help the most people. I was a heroin addict. I was an opiate addict. A lot of people felt like they could identify with me. I identified with people suffering and passed the most in that fellowship. I did a lot of service for meetings and different like area and district committees. But like especially um, in 2023, leading into early 2024, I started to become really resentful with the people who were also in longer term recovery like me. The people that came in around the same time that like I leaned onto for support for a long time. The fellowship was small and we spread ourselves thin to try to spread the word of HA, to try to get people to come in to to hopefully save people's lives. People are dying in the street every day in Rochester, New York from fentanyl overdoses. And it was tough, man, because there was people that I seen come get sober for a while, go back out and die. Um, I started to struggle, like feeling like I was failing trying to sponsor people, and I took that personally, and mentally and emotionally and spiritually, I started to feel sick again. Even though I was still doing all the right things, right? But there's like parts of recovery that are still dark long term. And I'm not saying that to like discourage anybody. I just say that because you can get 3, 4 years removed away from your last drink and your last drug. It doesn't mean that the work stops. I really like had to dive deep into therapy, and I truly believe that like all those mornings of waking up and like praying, asking for help, asking for willingness, asking for help, I truly believe that there is something following me around in my life because I was doing the right thing. Call it God, call it a higher power, call it the fucking universe, whatever you want. I felt like was putting me on the path to find all these resources that I found. Like I never believed in therapy before. I thought it was fucking stupid. Therapists run a fucking racket. I just happened to find a really freaking great therapist that I clicked with, and he helped me through a lot of traumas and a lot of shit. Um, and I continued to lean on the vaping community. I dove myself into DIY, into JMW, into um, participating in the DIY community and helping people learn how to mix, learn how to build. Started this show, help people um, quit smoking cigarettes, and it was rewarding. I started to find like that rewarding feeling that I felt like I was losing faith in as far as trying to help people get sober. And it took me a long time to realize like I'm not responsible for other people's recoveries. Like I knew that, but it doesn't mean that it didn't hurt. You know what I mean? And I started to lose faith like in the people that I was on like these district committees with. Um because all in all, no matter what, we're all still 4, 5, 6. Some people are 8, 9, 10 years sober. We all have shortcomings, and we're all at our own pace experiencing those either being removed from us or we're still struggling with them. You put people in a room together that are still trying to fight with their egos, and then you just have a bunch of clashing egos with differing opinions, thinking that this is the right thing that we're supposed to do for our recovery community. No, this is the right thing that we're supposed to do. And it creates resentments, and I had to step away from it. Up to like the point where like that meeting I told you that was downstairs in my building, it was my home group for years. And I busted my ass and struggled and showed up every single week, even if I was the only person there some weeks, to try to keep that meeting open. It was the only noon meeting where people in the halfway houses around here um, were able to come to a meeting that was like within their, because they had to be home by curfew. And the people in long-term recovery stopped showing up, stopped supporting it. I get it. It's noon. As people get further along in the recoveries, they start have to going back to work. Evening meetings start to become more easy for them. But there was no, like I just witnessed it. It felt like there was no reaching out to the newcomer anymore. There, and like I just started to lose faith in some of those people, and like that, a lot of that is me still dealing with my selfishness. I took it very personal when we had to shut down that meeting, and I shifted all of my energy and my focus into the vaping community. Um, if it wasn't for this live stream, uh, the yo-yo's, the JMW group, certain people that message me privately daily that we talk to, being able to help others was some of the things that they reached out for, you know, um, I could have ended up in a much darker place. I've had the opportunity also to like really, really, really deep dive into a much more bonded relationship with my son over this past couple years. He's starting to grow up so damn fast and become like this little miniature adult, and being able to be sober long term enough to where I'm starting to be more involved in like different aspects of his own recovery, because he has mental health issues, he has autism, he has past traumas, you know. A lot of focus goes into that stuff. And what I really want to fucking nail home is community, connection, honesty, open mindedness, and willingness. I still have to remain teachable every single day and be willing to accept a suggestion every now and again. And while today I don't deal with like cravings, like I don't get sad and upset and want to go get a bag. However, I do sometimes still deal with wanting to sink into isolation. And because of the things that I've kept up on throughout all this time, um, I've actually managed to stay connected with people and not just lock myself in my fucking room and sleep for freaking 9 days. You know what I mean? And that's why I think it's important, right? I think it's important to come and share my experience. And while I feel like I've dragged on quite longer than I really expected to, and I apologize for missing all your comments. I'm sure many of you are sharing great stuff. Sharing this every year um, on my recovery date, which is actually 5/27/19, it allows me to check in with myself out loud at where I'm at today. Um, and that experience, I hope helps one of you, at least one person. If that experience helps at least one person, then like my job is done. You know what I mean? But it does. It helps me check myself on my own bullshit because, like I said, new stuff comes up every time I share. A lot of that stuff that I just talked about like starting to lose faith in certain aspects of like 12-step program and stuff like that. Like I think that's the first time I think I've ever said that out loud to anybody. And the thing is like all I really needed was a change. I need to continue trying to do different things for my recovery. Like literally, I didn't find a home in AA before, and I gravitated to HA, and then I clung to the recovery or to the vaping community for support until I realized I needed a change, and I started going to AA meetings instead now, and like I'm starting to to get a little bit back into that rhythm. Not that like I put off like doing any of the things that I done for my recovery daily, because it's literally a one day at a time mindset. It took me forever to like understand that it's literally one day at a time. And it started out 10 minutes at a time, dude. I didn't think I was going to be able to stay sober and sit through a meeting for 10 minutes at one point. And that grew into one day. Those days started to stack up, became a year, 2 years, 3 years, 6 years, dude. And yeah, man. Uh Gratitude. I'm super grateful to be alive and here to be able to share my story with you guys. And the fact that so many of you showed up to listen to it and listen to me drone on, because at this point I'm rambling. But yeah, man. Without the vaping community in my life, like I'll tell you what. And that's not like that isn't even putting in like any of the stuff that vaping itself has done for me health wise, right? You guys know the health benefits of vaping. I don't need to drone on about that. And with that, I want to set something new up to me because that's another piece of like excitement about this vaping stuff. I'm going to stop rambling on. I'm going to go back through some of your comments. We all love you, Steve. Thank you, Kaplop, man. I love you guys. I'm going to go back through some of your comments. I don't want to miss everything, but I do want to check some of this stuff. Uh, I'm sure there's some gems in here. Hit like a truck full of dildos. Yeah. Halo Tribeca was fire. Am I Nautilus? Said Patrick. Oh, yeah. Darren says, I like the premise of the blue with the box to charge. Yeah. Congrats on the sobriety, Steve. Thank you, Gunny. Flavors save lives. Hell yeah, Stephen L. Patrick says Cosmic Clouds, milk, and honey was fire. How did you deal with your broken mod? That's another thing. So my mod broke. There was another resident in the house who thankfully had a spare mod who was uh, freaking generous enough to let me have his broken mod. All he had to do was put my tank on it. It was tough, man. We looked out for each other in that house. If one person was low on liquid or needed help buying coils or whatever, that's what we did in that house to keep each other, because we started to realize that quitting smoking was just as beneficial to our recovery as anything else that we were doing. The Suboxone was tough for him to get off of, but he was determined not to have anything. A rough month. I understand that, Darren. It's not for everybody, man. But each person walks their own path of recovery, and I don't judge uh, whatever they choose to do, as long as it's something moving in a positive direction, um, and that you're putting some work in, trying some different things. That's what it took for me. Be willing to try something different. Get out of my own way, not think that I know everything. Uh, I'm fucking ecstatic that you're sober, alive, and kicking ass all over this piece. Thanks, Kerplop, dude. I love that. All who reach sobriety and have been able to stay sober, congratulations. Yeah, 100%. Stephen L's 4 years sober in November. Absolutely. And let me tell you, man, Patrick checked in with 19 days. David Nance checked in with 212 days. And each one of those is a major accomplishment. Even if you're right now still struggling with trying to get sober and stay sober, even if you're thinking about asking for help for the first time, I want you to know that that is progress, and I'm proud of you for at least thinking of it. I want to encourage you, if you haven't yet, to actually do it, because you can get sober. It is possible. If I can do it, anybody can. Absolutely anybody. Um, Not an addict, but I don't drink because my father was an abusive alcoholic, honey. I hear a lot of stories like that. I actually spent a little bit of time in Al-Anon as well, dealing with some traumas from uh at not only because I was an addict, but because I was an addict, there was other addicts in my life, and I had to deal with that from the other side as well. Sober about the time I started vaping, and my diet 60 pounds down at the moment, and smoke free and alcohol free since January. Hell yeah, Blue Diamond. That part always sucks, Steven. Yeah. I've had to push a lot of people away because I didn't want their use in my life. I've always been there to help, but not enable. Yeah, that's a difficult part, right? Too, because there was a point in time where people would they get kicked out of the halfway house, and they would like use me as an excuse, like, oh well, Steve O is sponsoring me. Um, but then eventually it would become obvious, like, that they were lying to me, lying to the house. Um, and eventually they would come clean to me about using, and I had to make like the tough decision to be like, well, listen, I'm still here to help you, but I'm sorry I can no longer let you into my house. I have a son to take care of and to keep safe. You know, I will help you if you meet me at this meeting. I will make sure that we get you a ride home. You know what I mean? Show me that you still want it. And there was a lot of situations like that that ended up with those guys not doing the right thing, unfortunately. Therapists do run a racket, get more from my co-vapors heavy. Yeah. Uh, Patrick says, I have a month on the 7th and I'm actually excited to get my 30-day chip. Hell yeah, dude. Excited for you too. Keep it on. Just remember, buddy, one day at a time. All those days add up to make a month. My daughter is also in recovery from fentanyl. Tore her apart and she lost her kids. My other daughter was cocaine addicted. Yeah, dang. It's rough, man. It's rough. And the thing is that the fentanyl, it's in everything. It's not just the heroin. It's literally in everything on the street. Last time I remember the statistics was saying 81% of all street drugs have fentanyl in them now. Kids are freaking dying just, you know, thinking they're taking a painkiller for the first time. And it's freaking pressed fentanyl. One hell of a great group of people, says Ploppy, in this community of vapors. Absolutely, man. Uh, Paul says, staying humble is what I had to learn. Still need to check myself here and there, especially with social media. Yeah, 100%. Social media gets to me, man. Easy to get irritated. Yeah, and like it's real easy to get lost into selfish thinking uh, because of social media also, and the focus on the wrong aspects of it. Stephen L says, whenever I feel like I'm not getting anywhere, it helps to look back at how far I've come. Yeah. Yeah. And there's also a couple pieces of like my past that like were very extreme moments of pain. I think back to those and it reminds me of what I don't want to go back to. That I never want to feel like that ever again, feeling lost, like there was no way out. Uh, get comfortable with being uncomfortable. Good advice for anyone. Dude, yeah. Get comfortable with being uncomfortable. And that's the thing, like too, is like another good one was my sponsor used to always tell me that like the 12-step program, it's a simple program for complicated people. It's so fucking true. It's so simple. Like the things that they're asking you to do are not difficult. Like being honest with yourself and taking accountability for your actions. You want to kick and scream and fight against it, but like once you fucking do it, you realize like, why didn't I just fucking get this done sooner? Um, that started for me as soon as I came back finally to the States. I feel so blessed and thankful, Steve-O. You are not rambling. Trust me. Thank you. Um, LT said, thank you so much for sharing your story. Your openness about being in recovery helped me stay strong when I quit smoking. LT, I fucking love that. I will forever be grateful for to you for that. Yeah. Uh, it's also about letting go and letting go of control and contributing to something of value. Yeah. Yeah. That's another way. Like, that's what I'm saying. I always like forget like certain ways of like explaining it, but like it really is important to let go and understand that like literally I'm in control of nothing except for how I respond and react to things. That's my responsibility to respond and react to things in a positive manner today. I don't always do it perfect. I am not perfect. But I can tell you, if you saw the type of person I was 6 years ago, the day that, 6 years ago from today, it was the last day that I used. And I almost didn't make it into inpatient that third time because I was fucking entitled and selfish and um yeah, almost had a huge falling out with my dad that might have ricocheted into the future. Um I said it earlier, but I'll say it again, Steve-O. I would not be sober without
knowing sobriety helped you as much as it has. You're my hero. Thank you, man. I mean, I just share my experience, man, and what worked for me. You made me feel like I could fit in here. LT, that I love that. See, that's why I shared again. And I continue to share, even like in like one-on-one conversations and periodically throughout like the other live streams that we do. Recovery comes up, we talk about it briefly, but like I'm perfectly fine getting sidetracked sharing my experience any week because you never know who's listening and who's going to help. You never know like who might be listening onto the stream but not participating in chat that might need help. I hate disposables, but if that makes someone not smoke, the hate stops there, dude. Yeah, I have no hate for disposables personally. Staying positive is half the battle. Mind over matter, says Paul. If you gotta hit somebody up, do it. Shit, get at me if you need. I'll talk to you. Yeah, and I mean, I always tell people hit me up anytime, even if it's in the middle of the night. Listen, it's not gonna anger me if you message me in the middle of the night. There is a chance that I for once might not be up late and then I'll get back to you later. But oftentimes you'll find that I am up late, and if somebody reaches out, like I try not to let them hanging, man. Always try to make sure to get back to people. Maybe it's the next day, if I'm busy and like maybe I missed you, don't feel ashamed to like say maybe bump your message or message me again. Um, you know, I'm not, like I said, I'm not perfect. I just try my best. We create trauma too, and learning to take responsibility while trying to forgive ourselves too hard as fuck. Ben says, "Hey, yo yo, and all. I made it. Almost forgot, dude. Ben, it's good to see you, dude. Using all forms of vaping. Yeah, I love that. Uh, whatever it takes, says Kerplob. Paul says, I'd rather everyone use pods, mods, and mechs, but do what you got to do to stay away from ciggy butts. Yeah, whatever it takes, man. I mean, I have friends who quit smoking with disposables, and I know some people say that's not as easy to stop using disposables as it is like lower milligram stuff, but I've seen them do it. It's anything's possible. 33 years clean, says LT, and quitting smoking 6 months ago was like getting sober all over again. It was awesome to find such amazing supportive people in the vape community. I will never get sick of hearing that. I love that, LT. I literally had weed with Betty, no shit. Yeah, dude, see? Yeah. I'm late. Evening, folks. Hungry Hippo. Good to see you, dude. Looking sharp on Instagram, all dressed up for your wedding. The wedding, filming that wedding. Bam Bam hand check, and it's full. Going on 12 years of meth and cocaine. Off meth and cocaine. Hell yeah, Neil. Vaping my Pulse V3 squonks. Hippo says vaping my Pulse 3 squonk with a dead rabbit solo and some PB party. Let's go. Duchess says I just use social media to watch hot Japanese chicks and post about business related content. That's what's up. That's the way to do it, man. Had no idea there were so many of us in here. Congrats to all of us. What a family. Exactly. There's so much overlap. I just think that there's something about getting sober that just goes hand in hand with wanting to also quit smoking. Um, and some roll ups, lemon cheesecake, says Hippo. In the Dead Rabbit 2 on the Dreamer 1.5 with some bullies. Yes, let's go. I'm getting some more bullies. I ordered a couple sets last night. Bro, step 4 is hard. Don't even lie. Love you. All right, listen. It, it is. All right, it is. But you just gotta freaking when you get it done and look back on it, you realize that it wasn't as hard as you made it in your mind. Just keep on writing things down, even if it's just a couple things a day. That's how I had to do it. My 4 step, I I I got so wrapped up into the memories of and like the guilt at first. Um, like I literally had to every day get up and say the third step prayer every time before I did it. I would write down a couple of things, and then I would, you know, and then I would stop and I would do it again the next day. Just keep plugging away at it. The fourth step is so important to complete. Um, I blame all bad things on Duchess. We blame all bad things on V8, but he's not here. Duchess says, here's what I'll say to anyone who is struggling with anything, whether it be mental health, recovery, or anything else in this world. Just know that we are proud of you. We love you. Keep up the great work. Yes. Yes. Um, the list is hard, Patrick. Just wait till making the amends, though. I still have plenty of those to make, dude. One of them just popped up a couple weeks ago, actually. Oh, I didn't mean to put that on the screen. Amends is what I meant. Oh, well, listen, the steps are in order for a reason. You'll get to the amends when you're ready to make amends. Took me a while to grasp that. They're in order for a reason because while you're working your way through those first 8, you're actually changing as a person and as how you perceive things. And it requires a certain amount of change to become ready to make those amends. Uh, Now that you mention it, Steve-O, it was watching your vlog that helped me to make the connection that we vapors have more in common than not. Yeah. Duchess says you could definitely message Steve whenever you want, especially when we don't go to bed till 7:30. Yeah, some days, yeah. Vaping is a recovery in itself. Yes, Gunny, absolutely. The amends scared the shit out of me, says Stephen L. Although it turned out to be an amazing experience. Yeah, yeah. I mean, there's a couple that I made that, and because you got to go into them without expectation. Um, because there's a couple amends that I made to clean my side of the street, and those people were like, "Thank you, now fuck off." You know what I mean? And I had to respect it, but I did what I could. Fruit Monster, blueberry resin, lemon, says David Nance. Hell yeah, that sounds great. My parents should have disowned me, says Paul Cole, a dozen times, but stuck with me through it all. Shout out to my mom and dad. I love that. Steve, you talked me into it. I wicked up a tank up and put the crunchberry in it. I love it, dude. Yes. Sorry, my mod dropped. That's all good. We're all caught up. I want to show off the hand checks that you guys did real quick, and then we got a type 2 to wick up. Uh, Listen, let me explain. Not that I feel like I have to, but this kind of happened with the dwarf. I was like, we're gonna build it from scratch. We're gonna install the coil. We're gonna wick it. Then I'm like, what's a tank? It seems a little difficult. Maybe I should spend some time getting some practice in. And now it's got coils in it, and I don't want to take them out. And I'll tell you why afterwards. But the wicking is enough of a project to where it will take some time anyway. Uh, Wait, what? What did my sister message me? Great weekend with a scary ending. Leo got hit by a cop. Wait, what? That okay. Oh, uh, Ferber says now that I'm done with the lights, I can sit back and relax a bit. Yes. Was there another order that came through? There certainly was. I definitely got my work cut out for me for the next couple nights. But we got an hour still to hang out and do some vape stuff. Dell sent in this little rad hand check. Uh, Fatality M25 on an Odin and the Diplomat. Looks like an Abyss in side-by-side mode with like a cover on it. Let's get a little bit of focus. I hate it when they update this stuff. I want to see if I can just share this freaking stuff. Hold on a second. Give me a second. Let's see what happens. Because Discord likes, okay. Let's see. Let's go to messages. Dell. Let's see if we can do this. It didn't take over. So present, share screen. No, because it's not open in a window. It's open in an app. Entire screen, window. No. I need to practice this stuff, man. Cancel. All right. I just can't. Anyway, yeah, he shared that. I'm getting mad glare, and that's part of the reason. We have Mao sent in all these freaking mechs. What just happened? Oh, I gotta close Discord out because now it's making me lag. Hey! All of his mechs. Bum, bum, bum. Oh, no, I didn't mean to hit that again. Go away, Discord. Come on. Can we get some focus in here? There we go. Hey, look at all those mech tubes and RDAs. Let's freaking go. And Ben. Mao says we got the Enforcer with some Grape God, the Ritz with some Jolly loves Polly loves mango, Suicide with a little cake shake, the Nameless Nano combo rocking skeleton key, the Ruby 21 with a little cookie cane, the Laser Andromeda combo with the purple slush, Arcless Claymore running through some double barrel, and the Cloud Tech Stratus and Nitrous with some Grandma's Pie from Duchess. Hell yeah. And then Ben. Ben always with some freaking sexy setups. Couple of shiny mechs in a billet box. There we go. Thank you guys for sharing. I really appreciate that. Let's see. We got Patrick. Look at that happy silver guy right there. Look at him. I forget what that mod is. It's like a M100 or something, and he's got his Juggernaut. Jug Mini, I think it is. That's his daily banger. Hell yeah, dude. Paul says a neighbor of mine hit my car. I called the cops. They showed up. The dude was drunk. When he was driving, the cops stood there face to face with him talking, and I could smell the alcohol. And those can't be mouths. They're not all green. Oh yeah, I know, right? He's starting to get some copper and stuff like that. Patrick says cops slammed me 3 weeks ago for reaching for my vape. I agree, Duchess. Sorry, not sorry. NWA said it best. Yeah. They all have some green on them somewhere, except the Ruby 21, but I'm working on it. Yeah, he'll get there. He'll get there. Lots of cops are wonderful, brave people. I'm going to skip all that. All right, because you guys know the Vupu M100 Juggernaut Mini. Got it. Awesome. Let's get this thing going. So I got this darn thing here. I don't have the Just Try It drip tip out. I forgot to take it off the other RDA that I put it on. Let's see where we're at, and I'll get it so we can just try it. But this is like a little 510 drip tip that came in like a little smock pod mod kit. Um, Man, that's good. I want to rip this one too. Um, this is about the same height. The Fetch Pro. The Fetch Pro came with like two little pods that each had their own 510 drip tip. That's what that's from. I don't have. I think this would do better with a phone nub. I'm getting ahead of myself. Opinions are like assholes, and we can all be opinion. We can all be opinion. Wait, yeah. So let me get this off of here, and then you got that little guy there that's got to come off. And like I said, it's already got coils in it. Gosh darn it! I just shifted all my mods, and I had them all lined up straight. Let me get my 2.5mm cotton out. And boom. Ooh, Type 2. Yeah. Wait. He was following Anna and Dean on bikes, and the cop didn't see Leo and turned left and hit Leo, while Leo ran into the cop's wheel and bounced back. What? So is he okay? Can you start with that? Like, or at least like have mentioned that part at least. Sheesh. Leo is my three-year-old nephew, by the way. Almost 4, I think. So when my sister says he got hit by a cop car, yeesh, that's freaking scary. Let's get back to the vape stuff. Woo! Yeah. Bam. And bam. Hopefully those are long enough. All right. So, yeah, he'll be pretty sore tomorrow. If it's bothersome, I'll take him to be seen. Okay. Crop. Come on. What's going on here? There we go. I think. Can we get in further? Nah, we're zoomed all the way in. All right. And focus. They changed it, so now I can't do like the increments that I used to. Used to be able to go to 32%. Now it just goes 30 up by 5s. All right. We're going to have to do it there. Anyway, so these are some triple 28s, 2.5mm. You can see that they're installed freaking pretty perfectly. And I really don't want to mess with them too much. Sitting over that airflow. Minimal wonk, but I won't say zero wonk. But, you know. Yeah, triple 28s wrapped in 36, 2.5mm. And I'm just going to leave these in here, and we're going to wick this up. What I'm going to do is, to the best of my ability, not 100% accuracy, but my basic attempt at the phrasing technique for wicking the Type 2. Yeah, boom. Come on, now it's not focusing. Ugh. There we go. All right. All right. New. Steve-O, make sure the top of your coils are level with the top of the posts. They are just about. They're maybe like a half a millimeter lower than that. I don't see it making too much of a difference, but I'll raise them up maybe a touch because you suggested it and you love this darn thing so much. Let's see. Bam. I just felt like having them a little bit closer would be more beneficial, but all right. There we go. I think we're good. I moved them up that little half a millimeter as per suggested. I'll hook you up with a new glass soon. Thank you, Ron. Yeah, Steve, I'll raise the coils up just a wee bit. Those are perfect where they're at, Gunny. See, I bet you won't put some 3 millimeter 6-wrap coils in there. No, I won't. I won't. I have therapy homework. I'll catch you guys on the far side. All right, brother. Why is that not focused now? What did this update do? Like it's the update changed how everything works. Come on, dude. It's not focusing. Oh, I hate you so much right now. Come on. I don't understand. Like I'm moving it around. There we go. All right. Let's leave it there. Jeez. Like it wasn't focused and then it went out of focus. So I'm raising those up just to try it because I tried it with them down there. And I'm going to tell you, I wanted to put a set of Duchess Coils Umamis in here. The staggered fuse Claptons. All right. I forget the specs on them, but they're staggered fuse Claptons. A dual set comes out to a 0.2. They're 2.5 millimeter. And I'm gonna be honest, man. Like, I mean, these coils aren't too shabby either, you know. And this tank, while I'm not gonna say it's not bad or by any means, but I felt like it was like just okay. And I didn't want to take this set of coils out and commit a whole nother brand new set of coils to it for little to no improvement. So that's why we're just wicking these up. If you love this tank, continue to love it. So far, I'm just kind of okay with it. You know what I mean? And I can't get that darn thing to freaking go through. Let me pull a little bit of this off, actually. I want it to be thinner. Probably a new sub-menu box that needs a check. I don't know. It's weird. It didn't want to open up for the last couple days. Yesterday, it went to update, and then it wouldn't open. So I restarted my computer, and it still wouldn't open. So I had to uninstall and reinstall. to get it to freaking even work again. And the controls are slightly different now and not working correctly. Hey, don't forget about Vaping Bogan. Found out he's been doing that private sessions thing, but I noticed today, too late, that he did a session on Twitch yesterday. Well, I'm not exactly sure what you mean. Private sessions thing. What Bogan did yesterday is what is normally his Patreon bog, but because he has to do them on Twitch and you can't make your Twitch streams private, now anybody can watch them for now. So it kind of gives you a little sneak peek preview of what he does on Sundays for the Patreons. Sometimes he does them on Mondays, but Monday, the bog. It's like a for Bogan OnlyFans, yeah. So I'm just gonna snip this. Hopefully that. Let's make that a little longer out that way. Well, I'm gonna thin the crap out of this because it needs to be thinned 100%. So some people will do the troll doll technique. I'm not even going to bother with that. Frames Jenklin has the Frames Jenklin technique where he just places the wicks into those spots. Rumor has it he says fuck a lot. Indeed. Patreon, that's the name for my word for private session thing. Oh, okay. I gotcha. Yeah. I'm picking up what you're putting down now. Frames Jenklin, what I think he does is I think he gets the wicks a little wet and then he just kind of carefully tucks them into those spots and then puts the cap over it. This is what I do. Well, this is what I do based on how phrasing does it. Phrasing is a little more precise and meticulous with it. He also has some much more intricate tools that he uses for certain steps. Like he has a little pick that he uses to pull the wicks back up with, and then he has like surgical scissors basically for cutting things. But what I want to do is I'm trying to get these just kind of set where they're going to lay. And then I'm going to put the cap over it and try to get the cap around the wicks, but while keeping them tight so they just rest where those wicking channels are and not be caught by any threads, which can be difficult because sometimes you'll get like a straggler. But now you can see they're poking out all those sides there. And I got to try to carefully thread that on. All right. So now we have that. All right. And we go around now and then as closely as possible, snip right at those spots. Get as close as you can. Snip. And this is kind of how I did the no, there's a little straggler that got caught in the threads. All right. All right. There we go. I think we got it out. And snip. And snip. All right. Sometimes I get fancy. Sometimes I just jam them in and go. Yeah. uh, now you see that they're sticking out. You probably technically could just feather these out right now if you wanted to. Pick them out to make sure that there are no crimps from your scissors. That's why phrasing has special scissors to make sure that there's no crimping. Kind of like a little under tickle. All right, now if you look in there, that looks pretty decent, right? But they're kind of pulled tight because I was pulling on them. So what I would do, and phrasing uses like a special pick. You know that pick tool that Grimm's been using? It's like a dental pick that he's been using to thin out his cotton, something like that. But what I'll do is I'll make do with what I have here. I'll grab the ends of these wicks and kind of pull them up and in a little bit. It kind of, where'd it go? It's that one there. It kind of draws that back in because it doesn't need to be sticking out a little bit. And it also loosens it up right there and makes it so it's just not pulled so tight. Again, pull that up. I think he gets under it with a pick, but I just kind of pull from the top and then just kind of fluff it back out a little bit. I guess I'm kind of, by default, I'm poking speed holes in the cotton, but that's not the purpose. It's not intentional. And then kind of pull up. You also want to be careful that when you pull up, that you don't pull up to where this covers these top threads. Love the pick, yeah. Pull up. I want to snip just a little bit more off of that. You can clean them up if more is sticking out than you want them to, or you can just leave them. I like to try to clean it up the most that I can, and then, or you can just kind of tuck them back a little bit. I've seen Phrasing do this a couple times. He is much more efficient and particular about it. But it definitely wicks quite efficiently. Hopefully raising those coils up might give me a little bit of improvement in flavor. And I think we're good. I think we're good. This one I think I might want to pull up a little more. All right. So there we go. Let's see. You can get a pick set at the local hardware store pretty cheap. Nice. I get mine at Harbor Freight. Yeah. Is this going to work now? So there we are. Not too bad. Not too bad. This is like only like the third or fourth time I've done it. Maybe third actually. Now we just got to pick a liquid that we want to put in there. I forgot to glow the coils after I lifted them up, so hopefully I didn't create any freaking hot spots. I'm a dumbass. What liquid do we want to put in here? I had been running Grape God, the orange handled one, Steven. Oh yeah. But I'm not sure if that's what I want to run in there now. I'm almost out of cookie cane. I got to make a new batch for my billet box. I don't know. Maybe I should just stick with the Grape God because that's kind of been like my control flavor for this RTA so far. Watermelonade would be great, but I still haven't made any that's lower Nick. That watermelonade, the last time I brought it out, freaking nicked me out, and I can't get Nick sick tonight. I've got so many orders in the queue. I got a full night's of work ahead of me still. Thinking Grape God. But almost, yeah, I gotta go Grape God. I would love to put watermelonade in there though, LT. I just never freaking added more to it so it would be less Nick. I put the darn watermelonade in that one. What did I put it in? In that one sklunk a few weeks back, and it freaking destroyed me. And that's weird. It's weird because like I don't recall mixing that higher than a 2 milligram, but maybe I added the Nick to it twice on accident. All right. Let's get this a little saturated. I want to get some on the coils first before I tap this button. Oh yeah, this is reading a 0.14. And I think we're just going to leave it on the gen. Because why not? Don't get Nick sick, yeah. I had this on the Envy Loch Ness, and it looked sick on there, the blue Envy Loch Ness. Will this go up and down more? No, it won't. All right, well. I'm waiting to see. Yep, you can start to see the liquid starting to saturate the bottom of your wicks. That's usually a good sign. Because if it works that way, then capillary action should work the other way as well. Boop, 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 boop. All right, let's turn this up and get some vapors. Not too bad. Don't see any hot spots, so that's good. The one side seems to be a little faster than the other, but that could just be all in my head. All right, now get our guy on here. Boom. Yeah. Yeah, I think I'm just going to leave it on the Gen 2 because I'm probably also just going to keep using this drip tip for now. I did try the Just Try It drip tip. And while it is a nice feeling and a nice draw, I lost even more flavor with it. But let's see. Is this closed? Nope, not closed. All right. Twist. Pop. There we go. Fill. Stainless RTA looks like a pricey RTA. The Gen has a great chipset. It does. I think my black one is my most beat up of all four of them that I have. And that's full enough. I wish they would make a squonk with that chip. Yeah, dude, I'm with you. That would be awesome. And while I was running this at like 55-ish watts or whatever, I realized I think I want to run it higher, more like 70. And it's leaking. But that also could be from just dumping onto the coils. Yeah. Let me get this off of here real quick. Clean it up. Let's bring this out. Come on. There we go. Autofocus on? Yeah, that's going to have to do. Let's clean this up. I don't think it's like leaking, but we'll find out shortly. There's no reason why it should be. Liquid probably just dripped around the coil and fell into the airflow. Oh, yeah. Load. 0.14, 70 watts. There we go. That's the way. I think I'm going to like it. All right. Let's come out the rest of the way and let's vape this thing. Hopefully raising those coils up a bit does the trick, huh? I hope everyone is having a great Memorial Day weekend. I'm just sitting here. Wait, what? Hold on. Yeah, okay. Turn this off. Let me check that notification real quick. Oh boy. Oh, poor little guy got a bruise. Oh no. Oh, look at that little guy. He's got a bruise on his face. He ran into the wheel of the cop car, she said. And then his elbow. Aw. Poor little duder. He's a sneaky one. What was I doing? All right, yeah. Just sitting here, shed time, and just enjoying the moment. Far too much to stream. Much love. And to our veterans, thank you for your service. See you guys soon. So no dopamine dump tonight. All right, here we go. Little grape god in the Type 2. The RTAB. RTAB. We might have to slurp through a little bit. Let's go. I feel like that's a little better. A little throaty. And I think that's just cotton break-in. Let me look in there. See any hot spots. I was running this at like 55 watts and getting those long draws. But then like I felt like I wasn't getting full performance out of the coils. And it's definitely quite restricted compared to some other RTAs. Had a bubble. Bubbles? There we go. There goes one. Yeah, it's an RTA. It's vaping all right. Looks like I'm getting lots of bubbles off that one side now, actually. Oh, you gonna make a liar out of me, Tank? Yeah. Just waiting for the cotton to break in a little bit. It seems a little throaty. Cotton break in sometimes does that for me anyway. I feel like a little more wide open drip tip would benefit it, like a faux nub. So it's got the 510 as the base, but it's like the size of a um like an 810. If this was black, I would use this. Hold on. Actually, yeah, get out of there. Let's see. Come on. This is more open. Let's try it. This is the drip tip that comes stock with the dwarf. See, it's a little better. It's definitely wicking. A little more saturated than it was a little bit ago. Not too shabby. But like I said, like it's not like it's a pretty decent RTA. And I know a lot of people love it, but it's not blowing me away. It's just okay. Let's see, what do we got? It's probably just try it lives on my stubby. Uh, I used a silver gen till it had no paint left on it. Yeah. um, my silver one started to get dirty, and everywhere except for like the textured parts, I rubbed all that outer coating off of it. Dutcher says, "You know what I do with my Type 2? I clean the tank out, put it back in the box, and then forget it existed. I was so underwhelmed by this RTA." Yeah. Furfur says, "When you get your package," always talking to Gunny, "just try it, lives on my stubby. Whatever you do, don't trust Strode. He's a sneaky one." uh, Furfur confirms. Poor guy. Yeah, I feel bad. Uh, hit a cop car, and that's all he got. What a beast. Yeah. Completely gave up on tanks years ago. I almost gave up on RTAs at one point completely. If only there was someone that could make a tip that would fit and be more comfortable on there. Yeah, I wonder. I'll see what I can do to get you a 510 with more airflow. Um, yeah, yeah. I tried putting some of the other tips like in there, but they like I can't cram them in there. The green one would probably fit. The clear one, that one clear one that you sent me to test out, does fit in there, but it leaves like a little bit of a gap. Um, I was going to order a tip like this while I was getting extra glass for my dwarf, because they're only like a few bucks, but I'm not like in a rush to do it. Um, Let's see. Steve-O, do you have a celebratory new mod coming? I really don't. So that is one thing. The last few years, uh, I got myself a new special mod each time I celebrated another year. Year 3, I got my Grim Army O-Frame Hexome. Year 4, I got a Stabwood Stratum mod. Last year, I got this. That's when we got that guy. And I was sitting here thinking of it, but like the last year or so has been pretty good to me mod wise. I did just recently get the dwarf with the shift plus. I did just make a trade for this guy. So, up to about 5 years. I think on year 2 I bought myself a Kennedy setup, but I don't have that anymore, unfortunately. Um and at my 1 year mark was right around when I bought my first new mod. So pretty much every year up to like year 5, I did get myself a new special mod to celebrate another year of sobriety. I don't know if I'm gonna do it this year. I'm trying to be a little more responsible with how much gear I'm purchasing. And while I do say that, I was invited to this group called uh, High End Squonk Treasure Trove a couple days ago and was looking through there last night, and I'm very tempted at a couple of things that are posted in there. However, I'm trying to be more responsible with how I spend my funds. So I don't know. Um, I think I'm getting a Creality K2. Oh, I don't know what that is. Duchess said there was someone who could make a tip that would be comfortable and fit better on there, but unfortunately, Jess Marie no longer makes drip tips. Yeah, you can get DHD tips from Ohms, but like shipping is like 20 pounds just to get it here, and it's they are all O-ringed now because Mao ruined it for everyone. But I will figure something out for it. Oh, O-ringed could work. It just felt like they were just like a fraction of a millimeter too wide. Um, like literally a fraction, right? Uh, this was just like a fraction of a millimeter too wide. Now, for something like the billet box one, it works because it fits. I got to really twist it in there, and like that thing doesn't move. I like that to where it fits in the flush nut so snug that I could actually practically use it like an integrated drip tip. It fits in there so snug. I do like that for the billet box. How did Mao ruin it? He said, "Mao, I do my best." Frugal, yeah. I listen. I'll be the first one to admit that there's parts of my addiction that manifested into purchasing vape gear, and I do like sit there and find myself obsessing over like a new RDA or a new Squonk mod, the same way as I would have in the past over, like, say, uh, you're like I would be sober for like say maybe a month or two. Something would happen to where I would start craving, and then the craving turns into an obsession. And like I was talking about those lies that I tell myself in my head, and all I could do was sit there and obsess and obsess and obsess. It's similar, but it's not as toxic, you know, because it's buying vape gear isn't making my life unmanageable. You know what I mean? Purchasing drugs and drinking alcohol was. So there's a major difference there, but it's comparable in some ways. Uh, Duchess says, no, I know you can still get them from UK. I was just poking fun at. Oh, okay. Mouse's mind fit perfect for a day, then they got loose. How? Uh, you guys got drip tips that actually fit? I think I like it better with this drip tip on it. Although this one's got like a little chunkiness taken out of it. And it's not black. And I don't have like a white mod. This drip tip would look good on it too, but I've already moved it from the billet box to the dwarf, and it stays on the dwarf. That drip tip belongs to the dwarf for now. Right now we're going functionality over matchy matchy. I feel like this is the best that it's been actually. I feel like thank you LT. I feel like raising the coils up did help it. You know, I could bust down on this once in a while. Is it a tank that I'll daily? Probably not, but it'll make its way into rotation. I love it's a slick looking tank. I love the way that it looks. It's got old school feel, just very simple. I do like the clean look of it. Grape God tastes like Grape God. Can't complain with the cloud production, that's for sure. So, and then, guys, that's all I had set like in my mind to do for today. We do have a little bit of time, but I don't know. I almost was thinking that today would be a good day to taste Yig for the first time, but once I break out that 10 milliliter of Yig, once I start, I'm probably just gonna have to rock out the whole 10 mil. And I don't know if I want to try to squeeze that in today or save it for Thursday. We will be going live. Yeah, we should brainstorm the Thursday show together. Yeah, that's a good idea. Does anybody have any ideas of anything that they might want to see on Thursday? Because there is no vlog this week. We will be streaming a special Thursday edition of Wickin It and Kickin It. Spread the word around. I'll probably post it earlier in the day on Thursday so I can share it like in the Grim Army Facebook group as well. So anybody that like would normally go to the vlog and there's no vlog, we got something to do on Thursday now. You have earned yourself 1.5 millimeter bore for life. That's tight. I vote juggling. Oops, all round wire. Oh gosh, that is a good idea. We haven't retro vaped in a while. I'm so not a big fan of round wire. I know lots of people love it, and it has its place. I was talking with Mallory last night though about how it's definitely important to show people how simple wrapping round wire can be. We've done it several times. I've kind of gotten away from retro vaping at all for a while. In fact, Duchess, that chop top is going to be remade. Oof. I second Kerplop's idea. Really, Duchess? Roundwire? There's a Grim Green Army Facebook page? I didn't know that. I gotta find that. Yeah. Yeah, you could probably just search it and it'll pop up. And then there's only one question you have to answer, and it's does Grim poop naked? And the answer is yes. So round wire and juggling. What? Man, are we really gonna do round wire? Gosh, it's been a few weeks since we've done a mix on the show, but I mean, we could do mixes any other time. Oops, all round wire, huh? Gosh. No, what, LT? No, I was just going with the idea of juggling. Fuck round wire bills. Oh, yeah. Like, it's fun for the stream. And I'm gonna be honest though, like in like within like 24 hours, I'm usually tearing them down and cleaning them up. Because while I feel like round wire does perform perfectly fine, no, I can't juggle, Ben. I can't. I've never even tried. Um, well, round wire, like, there's like a nostalgia behind it, right? And then like the whole like in the moment like experience of retro vaping with round wire is exciting and it's fun. After like only like a few hours, I feel like my cotton's already starting to sag and I start losing flavor from it. Um, that's just my experience with round wire. I feel like it seems like it tastes perfectly fine at first, and then after just a few hours, like I start to lose saturation, and I'm like, I'm really not enjoying this as much anymore. But like in the moment while we're live, it is fun. But it's cool at first, but you don't want your friends catching you do it. Yeah. Yeah. I'll think about it. I'll think about it. I mean, um, I've been wanting to taste the Yig, and that could be a good day to do that. I feel like you have to taste Yig on a recoil though, right? That's got to be the way. Like I'm tempted to just wick up a freaking Asgard Mini though, because while I love the recoil and it's like absolutely like top two, top three dual coil RDAs of all time for me, it it just doesn't nothing compares to the flavor that I get from an Asgard Mini, dual coil wise anyway. Square wire masquerading as round wire. Ben says I've smashed my own flat wire. Could probably make some square. The first thing that I did to test this, because I didn't want to install a set like a full on set of coils. The first time I was building and wicking it was I busted this out. This is like some pre-made fuse Clapton from Coilology. It was 2-core 28 gauge wrapped in 36. I did 6 wraps on a 2.5 millimeter and installed those into the Type 2 at first. They came out to a 0.24 and it did okay. It like did the job to get like some initial wicking practice in. And then I took those out and put these coils in uh, after a day. And these were a set, I believe, of Twisted Timmy's Alien 2.5s. They were a used set that I added extra wraps to put into a recoil to run on the Hexome. So his Alien 2.5s come with 5 wraps. But I had a set that the legs were so long, I was able to add a wrap on both sides. So I made them a 7 wrap coil that ohmed out at a 0.18 that fit perfectly in a recoil and was ideal for running on a Hexome. And it did. It ran great on a Hexome for the most part, but like doing 7 wraps isn't the most efficient performance like you can get from that build. So I ended up taking them out and then taking those wraps back off, and that's what's in this tank currently. Uh, Yig has to go in the recoil. I may even break open my sealed 60 mil bottle to vape it with you. So you got a 60 mil. Ben says you can make your own corrugated flat wire with some micro screwdriver handles. It kind of sucks though. The Grape God does taste good. Uh, I usually break Grape God out for retro vapes. Um, it's been my control flavor for this RDA since I first started messing with it. RTA since I first started messing with it though, and it tastes like Grape God. I'm just like in an RDA, it's much more punchy. You know what I mean? It's a lot more bold and dense of a flavor profile in an RDA. It's doing a little better than it was though now that I raised the coils. Um, yeah, I don't know. Maybe we'll taste the egg. Maybe we'll do a round wire. I'll think of some things. I don't know. I've been wanting to do like a full on build with something that I haven't busted out in a while, like the Valhalla 28, or I don't know, the Valhalla 28 could use a fresh set of triple 26ers in it. And I've got quite a few sets of Duchess triple 26ers on deck. None of my squonks need to be rebuilt, although there's a couple that I haven't busted out in a while. It's my fourth 60 mil of the horror of the Yig. What is Yig? Yig is oatmeal. It's oatmeal oatmeal cookie custard and black currant, red currant, black currant. It's currant, some kind of currant, oatmeal cookie and custard. It's one of Grimm's old, one of the most popular. It's black currant. Okay, oatmeal cookie, black currant custard. Oh, there you go. That's how you say it. So, what do you think, guys? Did we have a pretty good stream tonight? Um, I think so. I mean, we only wicked up one RTA. I was tempted to maybe wick up something else, but I still got last things in rotation. What I should have done was cleaned out this darn billet box uh, to finally re-wick this. I've been running this 5 weeks on the same wick now, and I can't even really hit it because I vaped the tank dry, I think. Yeah. Honestly, this is by far the best stream that you've done so far, and I'm looking forward to the future of how you top the amazingness that we've had tonight. Oh, thanks, Duchess. It's something different, right? Like I started doing it last year because we had just brought the show back out of like almost a 1 year hiatus, and I just happened to hit 5 years of sobriety, and I was like, I've never shared like my story to the vaping community before, and then included how vaping was a part of that. I did leave a link in the description of this live stream um, to last year's share. Um, there, there's definitely several things that I mentioned that overlap, but I think I elaborated much more, especially on like the history of JMW, how I met Dan, um, and like the progression of JMW, and a little bit more on like my DIY journey and stuff like that. So if anybody ever wants to check that out, like I said, my story isn't exactly the same every time. There's definitely going to be parts, right? But there's a lot of things that change up. It's never a bad stream. Thank you, man. I always have fun. Blue Diamond says it's been great. Thank you for everything. Well, thank you. Thank you for being here. Happy birthday. Fuck yeah. 6 years is amazing. Love you, man. Love you back, LT. JMW diffuser liquids. Come on, come on, come all. Yeah. I did also pin the thing again for the raffle rumble. Um Still plenty of time to get in on that. That's running until June 15th. I will be unpinning it after the stream ends, however, just because I think that's the safest way to play it. So anybody on the replay crew uh interested, you can find that in the group or you can message me uh wherever, Discord or Facebook. Um Thank you, Duchess. And there's that as well. I appreciate you keeping up on sharing that throughout the stream. Don't forget to share your own stuff as well. I'm pretty sure that you have. I know Duchess is. If you're not following him on Instagram, be sure to, because there is updates that he has been making on there periodically. There is some changes coming, and if you do need some coils, if you're in need of some Duchess coils, now is the time to get them. Because there is going to be like a little break coming because there's changes happening. Uh, and it's kind of like a first come first serve basis on what is pre-built at the moment. There is a new post coming up on Instagram right now. Actually, there you go. Um, but yeah, um, we will think of something to do on Thursday. Maybe we'll do like a round wire build. I don't know about oops all round wire, but enjoy your beautiful self, Steve-O. Rock on, brother. Yes. Thank you, guys. I could continue to drone on and we could hang out for a little while longer. But like I said, like I do have a massive workload on my plate. And I'm already to the point where some of today's orders already have to get pushed out to tomorrow to go out Wednesday morning because I just don't want to push myself too hard. Um, because I have a tendency to do that and overdo it. I did, as a matter of fact, though, which I don't usually do. I ate dinner before the stream tonight, so that's an improvement. Um, but yeah, I hope everybody has a good rest of your night. We're going to call it here. I appreciate you all being here. Like I said, shout out to my replay crew. Very specifically, last week, Amy, who left such a really nice comment on last week's live stream. Thank you so much. I know Dusty usually tunes in to the live streams. Our buddy Ben from Australia, I know he catches the replay. Um, and anybody wants to come hang out another night this week, we'll be doing it again on Thursday. Uh, yeah, I think I've run out of things to say. See you on Thursday. Guys, drop some hashtags or whatever you feel like to in the chat. I like to throw them up on the screen. I want to go out. Well, we might as well. We set it up. We might as well. Let's go out on some clouds. Hope you guys uh, have a good next couple days. I will see you on Thursday. Thank you, as always, for wicking it and kicking it with me and for following along and being a part of my recovery journey. We are JMW. And I messed that up completely because I didn't even pull up the outro. We're going to do that again because, like I said, I can't find my thing. Okay. Also, one last reminder, reach out if you need help. You can do it. If I can do it, you can do it. Thank you all for wicking it and kicking it with me. We are JMW. Peace.